Today I thought I'll look at how easy it is perhaps to create a Windows Universal app. And the idea that I have is I'm just going to use Elm, which is a language that compiles to JavaScript. And I thought I'll just create a Windows app that all it does is show a clock and just see what happens. So on the left hand side, this is an example from the Elm website. We have the code that produces this clock, and on the right hand side we have the actual clock, which is compiled into JavaScript and all that lovely stuff. So on the other hand, I do have the compiled JavaScript code here. I won't go into how precisely that works. I might leave that for another time. So let's just see how long it takes me. I might have to refer to some of the notes that I have because I've actually never done this for this particular example, and I really actually don't have any idea whether the clock will actually work. So let's just see what happens. So firstly, we'll just create a Windows Universal app in Visual Studio. Okay. Since the code is already provided, okay, all we have to do is really just go in here and add a JavaScript file, and we'll call it elm.js. I can just paste all the JavaScript code that it created from the Elm file, probably similar to how CoffeeScript works, and then we're almost done. To come to the actual web page, if it will load, which it should, and of course add the reference to it. So let's add, we can include it here at the end. And beyond that, one other thing that you have to do with Elm, and let's see if I remember. Right, so you have to do something that is like you can't exactly reference it in the normal way. Actually, that doesn't really make sense. But how it works is after you create the particular clock file, you need to either embed it in a div or just somehow have some JavaScript code to, of course, create a div and add it on. So one way you can do that is Elm has a built-in function that is called Elm Full Screen, which can do that for you. The one thing with Windows Universal App that I found is that you can't have embedded code, which I believe is for safety reasons. So what you actually have to do is, well, you'll have to include some code that you have to use the Elm Full Screen function, which looks like this, in order to add it into the file, but that needs to be in another JavaScript file. So we'll do that very naturally. So let's call it run Elm. Okay. No, I don't want to put it there. Oops. Delete. Yeah. JavaScript file. Run Elm. Run Elm. And if we refer it in here, then hopefully that will run and create a clock. I actually don't know what will happen, but let's just see what happens when I try to create it. And there we have it. We have an application that is a universal Windows application, and it creates a clock in Elm. And all we had to do was really add the JavaScript into the default HTML, and it will create it. And I presume that you could do a lot of complicated or interesting things like create Pong or Breakout, which maybe I'll give a shot at doing at some later stage. So there you have it, a very easy way to create a Windows Universal app using Visual Studio.